Hi, my name is Jamie Thompson and you're watching one of a series of videos that demonstrates the capabilities of COZYROC software's suite of tasks and components for SQL Server integration services. The demonstrations herein were built using SQL Server Integration Services 2008, however the COZYROC tasks and components are available for both SQL Server Integration Services 2005 and 2008 in both 32-bit and 64-bit editions. For more information, please visit www.cozyroc.com. In this video, we're going to talk about COZYROC's database partitioning task. Database partitions were introduced into SQL Server in SQL Server 2005, and now COZYROC have introduced an SSIS task that can help with the management of database partitions. First thing we have to do, as always, is add it to our toolbox. Let's go choose items, SSIS control flow items, and it's right here, database partitions task. Okay, there it is, and it's been added to our toolbox for us. Right, now that we've got the database partitions task installed, I can take you through its various functions. There are actually four of them. There are four things it can do. The first one, it can take the name of a partition table as an input and create a staging table that matches the structure of that partition table. That then gives us a table that we can merge into that partition table at a later stage as a new partition. So that's the first thing that the partition task can do. It can create as a staging table. The second thing that it can do is it can merge a staging table into a partition table, i.e. it can take a staging table and make that a new partition of that partition table. The third thing it can do is it can remove a partition from an already partitioned table. And the fourth thing, it can take many partitions in a single partition table and combine them into one single partition. And we'll show all of those things in this video right now. So what we've already got set up, if I switch over to SQL Server Management Studio, I've got a database called COZYROC, and I have one table in here. It's called Partition Sales Table. So look, it's got some columns, it's got a date key, it's got a product column and number sold. So we're tracking number of products sold on a particular day. And now this table is actually partitioned by the date key, and we can actually have a look at that, as I have another tool installed here called SQL Partition Manager. And if I just connect up to that same database, I'm connected to my local host server, my COZYROC database, and it's already picked out our partition sales table for us, so it's able to interrogate the database and find out which tables have been partitioned. And what it shows us is that this partition table has already got 7 partitions set up, and in the middle at the top of the screen you will see the, it shows us the ranges for each of those partitions, and that's really useful. Down at the bottom we have a bar chart showing all of our partitions, and the zeros that you see there are the number of rows that are in each of those partitions. So currently we've got an empty table. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to switch back to Visual Studio and start showing you around the database partitions task. The first example we're going to look at is this dbt create staging table. I'll open it up. I'll go into operation. This is the key bit. Now you see the action that we're going to take here is to create a partition. I'll show you all the options that we have here. As I explained earlier on, we've got 4 different operations that we can carry out with the database partitions task. We have create partition, which is what we're going to show right now. We have insert partition, which is what some people refer to as merging a staging table with a partition table. We can remove a partition from a table, and we can combine multiple partitions in a partition table into a single partition. So in this case we're going to create a partition, what some people call a staging table, and our target table property, the database Partitions task interrogates the database to find out all of the partition tables that are in there and gives us them all to choose from. In this case, there is only one partition table. It's our partition sales table. So we select that, and then we have a free form text property here where we just enter the name of the table that we're going to create. So in this case, just to prove that it is a free form text, our staging table is going to be staging partition. If I hit OK on that, let's go and execute this. Okay, it's gone green. I'll stop that. We'll head over to SQL Server Management Studio. I'll refresh my list of tables. And sure enough, we've got a new table created called Staging Partition. Let's have a look at the columns. We've got a date key, a product, and number sold. And you'll see that that's exactly what we've got in our partition sales table as well. So now we've got a table that's got the exact same structure as our partition sales table, and it will be later we'll be able to merge them together. If I head back to Visual Studio. Now, using partitions isn't particularly interesting unless you actually have data in that partition table. And what we're actually going to do with this execute SQL task is load some data into our staging table. So here we go. Okay, that was very quick. Let's head back to SQL Server Management Studio and take a look at that data. But very simple. We've got some sales of particular brands of fruit, and they're all done on the same day, which is indicated by the date key. Remember that the partition table that we're going to merge our staging partition into is partitioned on the date key. So we'll go back to Visual Studio now. Now this is where it gets a bit more interesting. This is where we're going to merge our staging partition containing that data into our partition table. Let's take a look inside here. Operation. As I said, the operation we're going to use is insert partition, what some people call merge. In our target table, we can choose from any of the partition tables that we have. In our case, we only have one of them. And in our partition table property, we specify the name of the table that we're going to merge in. The partition key is also very important because that specifies the particular value of the date key that is represented by this partition, i.e. all of the rows in our staging partition table have got a value of 0 for the date key. It's very important because date key is the column that we're partitioning on. I'll cancel out that. Let's execute this. We've got a green, that's good. We'll head back to SQL Server Management Studio. Let's refresh our list of tables again. And you'll see that the dbo.staging partition table has disappeared, but partition sales table is still here. Now remember, we only loaded data into our staging partition table, but if we take a look at what's inside our partition sales table now, there are those 5 rows. So that just proves that we've taken that original partition, which was in dbo.staging partition, and we've merged it into our partition sales table. Let's go and take another look at that through our SQL Partition Manager. We've got a refresh button up here. We hit that, and sure enough, we can see here that we've got 5 rows in our partition that is keyed by the value 0. So everything's worked very well. That's good. Let's head back to Visual Studio. So we've seen how we can merge partitions together. Now we want to remove a partition. Let's take a look at db2 remove a partition. Go into the Operation tab. Our action is remove partition. The target table that we're removing it from is our partition sales table. The partition table property here enables us to remove the partition and create it as a separate table, which we can do by specifying, let's give a different name to what it was called before. This is dbo.stagingPartition2. And partition key is important, and again that's the value of the date key that indicates which partition is going to be removed. Click OK on that. Let's execute. Everything's good. Back to SQL Partition Manager, we'll refresh again. And sure enough, our partition that had the date key value 0 has now disappeared. We've removed that from our partition table. If I refresh our list of tables, sure enough, we have dbo.stagingPartition2. Let's take a look at what's in there. And that contains all the rows that we created earlier. So let's review what we've done. We created a staging partition table, inserted some data into it, merged that data into our partition table, and now we've removed it, basically reversing the operation that we did before. So those are the 3 functions of the database partition task. The last one I want to show you is the ability to combine multiple partitions into one. So in this case, our operation is combine partitions. We're working on our partition sales table again, and granularity equals 5. What that means is it's going to look for partitions, that 5 consecutive partitions, and try and merge those 5 into one. Take a look at Partition Manager. We see we've got -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's going to try and find 5 consecutive partitions from all of those partitions and move them into one. I'll cancel out of this. We execute. Everything's green. Let's go and take a look at SQL Partition Manager again by giving it a refresh. And sure enough, it's taken 5 of our partitions and merged them into one single partition. As you can see, we've still got 0 rows in this table. Okay, that's been a tour of the database partitions task. I hope it's been useful. As you can see, it greatly simplifies the work that you have to do to manage partitions in your systems. So good luck using it. I think it's a really cool tool to add to your toolbox, and thanks for watching.